How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to AFTV Live. I'm here with Cecil, my guy. What are you saying?
Good, man. Very good, very good. Yeah, very good. I enjoyed the weekend. I enjoyed Sunday's game, Turkish, I must say. I was just like, I can hear the rain, so the weather right now is really annoying me. But no, I enjoyed Sunday's game. I was very much looking forward just to, obviously we always want to see Arsenal win, but the whole way up there, as much as the road trip may not have depicted it from me, I was just excited to see like a two top teams. I know Liverpool are having a great season this season, but two top teams go at it. It's Anfield. I had a bit of confidence in me. I was just excited, and do you know what? It was everything and more, if I'm honest. The whole day in general, which we'll get into throughout this live, because we know we've got plenty of topics to talk about today, but I just, throughout the day, was really good, bumping into lots of Edu, you know, my guy, hold tight, bro. You know, on that level now. And then obviously Klopp and Carragher, and then the whole game, the atmosphere in the ground, the love from the Liverpool fans as well. Before, like, they just respected Arsenal, and Arsenal want to see us win the league. There's a lot to discuss around it, but I had a really good Sunday. Bank holiday, obviously, it's nice to have a chill out, and the dust settled after, you know, the emotions of being 2-0 up and then not getting the 3 points. It's kind of settled, and looking back at it, honestly, bro, it was just a great game. It was a great game. Hopefully it doesn't affect too much on us and my hopes on winning the league. It hasn't changed too much as everyone keeps telling me, come on now, you're feeling cities, you can feel it, and I'm like, I know, I feel they're coming, but pause. But yeah, I'm excited, bro, and I had a really good weekend. I enjoyed it. Yeah, feeling good, bro. How are you? Everything good though? Obviously you was here. How's everything as well?
Yeah,
your side.
You know what we'll do? We'll start with the Liverpool result.
Let's start with it.
It's a couple of days ago now, but you know, as you can see out there, thumbnail and the title, the main topic today will be around Balogun, his future. There's been an article in The Athletic around what he wants next and how he sees next season going. So we'll touch on that, and that will be the main topic. We've also got a fixture move in the Chelsea game, Martinelli's numbers, Eddie's back in training, a little look at Manchester City's title run-ins or Premier League end of season run-ins over the last 5 years. And we'll go through the super chats as usual. We'll engage with the comment section as usual. But let's pick it up with the Liverpool game, because you mentioned it, you was there. How does it feel to you 2 days on now? Does it feel like 2 points dropped or a point gained?
Neither. It feels right in between, and that's such a basic answer, but that's how it feels. Because when you look at it, right? Yeah, we went 2-0 up. We shocked them. We definitely shocked them, and I was watching those first 40 minutes Turkish, like in awe, actually in awe. Robbie, I've never seen Robbie react to a goal. Man headlocked me and just threw me around. It was, we couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe it. And yes, it was playing good football up until then anyway, but I felt like the first goal, I wouldn't say it was against run of play, but it came out of nowhere from Martinelli. And it was amazing. It was just an amazing feeling. Then obviously 2-0 up. And I was just getting overconfident. I was singing and dancing in the stands, thinking this is it. But yeah, in the end, you know, they came back. The crowd got on Liverpool's side from being absolutely completely quiet in the first half to being extremely loud. It changed, and Liverpool got back into it, and they had some big chances. And I don't want to take away from the big chances that Arsenal had, because that's what we always forget. We saw obviously the penalty miss, which was a shocking moment, and then Ramsdale making some incredible saves. But fans kept reminding me, they kept saying we got lucky, the Liverpool fans. I was like, we didn't get lucky. Like, Ramsdale makes incredible saves week in, week out. I actually try and highlight them as much as possible, because every week, every game, he makes a crucial save at a crucial moment that could literally change the game. And he's always there in between the six and saving us. So it doesn't feel like 2 points dropped, because I'll be honest, Liverpool in that second half, they came back and they caused us a lot of problems. But it doesn't feel like...
I think there was a bit of luck involved.
Yeah. From us, for Arsenal.
Salah's penalty miss.
Yeah, that's massive. That is massive. That doesn't happen.
Konate getting a bit of a better connection at the end doesn't even allow Ramsdale a chance to make that save, because it was a great save, one of the saves of the season for sure, one of the best saves I've seen for Arsenal ever.
100%.
And that goes back, you know, to when I first started supporting and watching the club. So there's elements of luck involved there, because in that second half, Liverpool did really put it on us.
Yeah, and no one knows how important that save will be, even though it is one of the best saves I've seen as well. No one knows how important it is until the end of the season. Obviously, if we end up lifting the trophy, Ramsdale is going to need to get a guard of honour. They're going to have to go back through all the key saves he's made, because he's been vital for us. But that's what championship winning teams do. They have a goalkeeper in between the sticks and solid defence that keeps us in it. But there's a lot of things I want to just quickly go through from my point of view from being at the game. Firstly, the respect shown in the days building up to the game. We saw Mikel Arteta and Martin Odegaard go down to Liverpool and do stand outside the memorial of Hillsborough and show their respects and put the wreath down, and that was an amazing touch. Alex AGT, you might have watched his fan cam, he may not have, but he had some amazing words to say on it, and just how much he has respect for Arsenal just for doing that in general. The minute silence, oh my days, it was observed impeccably, like dead silent. There's an image that I took of the players and inside the stadium, and it was a moment, and you should be able to see it on your screens now, of us inside Anfield and just showing respect there. Of 97, it was really nice. It was really beautiful and very respectful. So yeah, big up Arsenal, and I think that's the element of class that, you know, Thierry Henry always talks about. He says when you speak about Arsenal, you speak about, you know, the family club and the class that we show and the style of play that we have, and that was just a nod to not even the old Arsenal. It's just the nod to the Arsenal to say the class is still there that we possess, and it was really nice moment. I was really happy with that. And then just going on to again the day we spoke about it, I think I got a lot of respect for Liverpool. Klopp staying after, speaking to all the fans, taking photos with them after. He took a photo, by the way, with every single young fan there was. I know I was one of the fans there. I'm not a young fan, but he obviously answered the question I asked. But he stood and stayed for everyone, and it kind of gave me like Ty and Wenger vibes when he used to speak with him after the games. It was very wholesome, and for a manager like Klopp, I see why Liverpool fans love him so much. They always said like the players will go first before him, and I never really understood, like, I understand the respect for what he's done at Liverpool, but I didn't realise how much love they had for him and how respected he was. But that's a testament to him. So big him up. And I think that's kind of it. I think also they sung the "You'll Never Walk Alone" straight after the Arsenal fans sung "North London Forever," and that was a moment for me, because "You'll Never Walk Alone" is loud, and obviously it gets the players, Liverpool fans, ready. But singing "North London Forever," it was just so good from the Arsenal fans, and you could see it. You could see the players heard it, and they were up for it. And then we started fast. We silenced the crowd, and it was quiet for the first 40 minutes. But when they come back into it again, you know, you've been many years. The atmosphere. I know Grizz on the Big Six said, "Don't try. I'm not gonna have this. It's a myth." And I hear it to an extent. When they're not winning, it was definitely quiet. But when they got to 2-2 and Bobby Firmino scored, oh my days!
Yeah, it's not a myth.
It was rocking, and it's intimidating.
It's not a myth. Anfield the crowd can suck you in.
100%.
It does give a lease of life to the players out there. I can't lie. Don't get twisted. It is often overrated at times, but at the same time, I've been there. I've heard it for myself. I've seen the impact when the fans do, you know, get that second wind at times during the game. And we saw evidence of it just the weekend gone. Yeah, the week.
And when they played against Man United, do you know what? I actually think it was a ploy, Turkish. I'll be 100% honest with you, because I think they went in at half time, and I reckon Klopp went to the players and said, "Look, get them something to cheer about. Give them something." Because I'm gonna say this because Trent was getting cooked in the first half. He was honestly, and I know Liverpool fans or people, I think on Big Six again, they were talking about how he can't defend. But honestly, that first half, I was like, just target him. Like Martinelli had him on the ropes the whole time until the incident. Obviously, I'm not going to blame Xhaka. There's no way I'm doing that, and I'm with Ian Wright. Allow it. It's not his fault. Why, you know, the momentum changed at all. But Trent built off the energy of the fans, and he improved his game off the back of that. And I feel like Klopp would have went in at half time and said, "Give them something to cheer about. Get this place. I don't care how you do it, but get it started." And they did that, and from there we seemed like we was on the back foot, and we were majority of the second half. But yeah, the Anfield atmosphere, it's not a myth. It definitely plays a part in their home record.
Yeah, I rate what Ian Wright said, because again, I'm going to say it, people know my feelings about Xhaka over the years. In comparison to this season where he's turned it around, my feelings on him have changed. He's actually given us something from this position. Ian Wright said if he was in his shoes, he probably would have done the same thing. Yeah. I'd probably do the same thing as well. If someone pushes me on the pitch, I'm onto them. Yeah. I guess there's an argument to be had that he didn't need to kind of leave one on him. I think he kind of went in on him with his shoulder. Yeah. I get that argument, but at the same time, I've seen Arsenal teams bullied over the years,
Right.
and I've seen a lot of pundits talk about how easy it is to get under Arsenal's skin, rattle them, bully them, you know, kick them off the park, and that goes a long way in getting 3 points from us. Times are changing. Now, it probably was a silly move in hindsight, but at the time, I just thought our players could use it to lift us.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it did lift Liverpool's fans. It did kind of play a part in that, but at the same time, the goal came straight after. So all these stats that you're seeing about Liverpool's possession and shots prior to that incident and Liverpool's possession and shots post that incident, the same can be attributed to pre Salah's goal and post Salah's goal. They were so close together that I'm not blaming Xhaka for anything. I think we've come to know that is kind of Granit Xhaka. He's kept it under wraps pretty much all season, but he's
human, man.
He's done similar against Chelsea.
Yeah.
I think Jordan mentioned that, and it popped up to my mind as well. And I remember he did do similar when he was 1-0 up. That didn't work against us. People will then say this is Anfield, it's very different. Yes, that is true, but at the same time, you want your players to have a bit of fight. You want them to get under the skin of the opponent, but at the end of the day, it probably done more harm than good. But we still had 50 minutes to go in the game, and a half time in between. So really, I just thought, all right, we'll let's ride the waves. They've scored a goal. Let's get to half time, regroup, refocus, because we were the better team for the majority of that first half. I'd say up until that incident, 40 minutes or so, 35, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Even though Liverpool had a couple, Robertson one-on-one, Salah one-on-one before that incident. So they had chances. From the fullback positions, they was finding some space, and essentially that's where Curtis Jones kind of floated in from the Ben White side, got into the box, pass in. Henderson,
lucky deflection,
just a deflection. Gabriel caught a bit off guard. Salah, right man, right time.
Yep.
He bags it, and the rest is history. Second half, Liverpool deserved. Liverpool deserved the 3 points after that second half. If you ask me, the amount of chances they created, the amount of saves Ramsdale had to make.
Penalty for you? I don't know if you've given your opinion.
Was it a penalty? To the standards of what's been set now, recent years, it is a penalty because any contact in the box seems to be a penalty now. But in reality, Holding's just kind of running towards the ball, and Jota's put himself in front of it. Now, Lacazette used to do that for us a lot,
all the time. Put his body in front. Yep.
That's part of what I'd call the dark arts now in football. So was it a penalty? I'm gonna say yeah.
Okay.
It was, based off of what football has become and the decisions over the last 5 to 10 years. But if I look back at growing up watching football, no way would that have been given a pen. Very, very soft. So, but times have changed. You just got to get with the times. It was a penalty. He missed it. It is what it is. If Salah scored that penalty, I think Liverpool would have gone on to win the game, because it was earlier on in that second half than when they did get the goal. But it is what it is. We held on. We had to show a bit of fight, and we had chances of our own. I mean, Gabriel should have scored that header, and Martinelli should have got that pass right. Two massive chances for us to get away with it and get the win. But
let me just quickly say something as well. We talk about Xhaka and that yellow card and it changing the crowd. I was in the stands, and Jesus, his head was gone. And he was, you may not have seen it on TV, but he was running around looking like he was trying to fly in tackles. It's because Paul Tierney wasn't giving him some decisions, and he was getting so aggravated, and there was back and forth between certain players, and his head was gone. People in the stands were saying he needs to come off, or he needs to calm down. They're playing, this is what we don't want to see. And I was actually silent in there, just smiling, thinking I love the fight he was showing in him. I was like, this is what I want to see. I'm tired of the days of the no cojones and the weak mentality, and I don't think Jesus is an idiot when it comes to, you might have lost your head because you're pressing things incredibly intensely, and you might go in a little bit late. But I don't think he's that much of an idiot. I think he's quite a smart player, but he was definitely wound up, and his head was definitely gone. But in the end, it worked out to our favour, because he didn't pick up, and he didn't leave the pitch with a red card or anything. But it's not just Xhaka who might have shown a bit of aggression, and I like to see that. We're human as well in football matches. Like AGT said on the fan cam as well. Like, when I'm playing, I'm the same. I can lose I'm smart with it, but I love the dark arts, but I can lose my head, and they are human. Like, if things rattle them, they're going to want to retaliate. As much as some people have the argument like they're professional footballers, sometimes that's just how it goes. It's a big game. There's a lot on it. There's a lot riding on it. And it was clearly shown in the performance. But for me, it made even more for a spectacular game. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
And I did
briefly
put a poll in the chat as well, asking what the general feeling is like, whether it was 2 points dropped or 1 point gained. We've had close to 400 votes. 2 points dropped have got 55% of the votes, and 1 point gained has got 45% of the votes. So very close.
It's close.
Very close. I lean more towards 2 points dropped. It sounds like you lean more towards 1 point gained.
Yeah, because it does sound like that, because I enjoyed the spectacle of the game, the spectacle of the game. But yeah, I think I am leaning towards that. I'll be honest. It may be because if I'm taking off my Arsenal bias hat, if I've got my Arsenal hat on, I'll be saying it is 2 points drop because we're in the charge for the Premier League title. But when I look at the whole game in the full context, and like you said, the penalty misses, the chances from Ramsdale, it's just how it is. It's a game of two halves, and I think that's what I'm leaning towards on this side. But yeah, listen, it is what it is. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
It's not all done. It's not over. That's what I need to keep reminding people. It's not over. There's still games to go.
Let's look at some super chats as well, since they've come in now. We're just about 15 minutes in. Hit the like button, people. Close to 1,000 in the building. I don't think we've even hit 100 likes yet, so you know what to do. Make sure you hit that like button. Dave Jordan in the chat as always. Arteta froze at Anfield. I wish he had as much experience as YouTubers, and he might have made the right subs and would win every game, obviously.
But is that hindsight though? Sorry, I know we want to move on from the Liverpool, but is that hindsight? Because yes, Kivior coming on through me left. I said, what? I didn't know what was going on there. I'd have said, I thought you'd have brought on Jorginho. But the Kieran Tierney thing, are people saying, is that hindsight? Would you really have brought him on earlier? Or only because he came on and he looked so good when he was on, people are saying he should have been on earlier? I don't know where people stand on that, because I wouldn't have called for Kieran Tierney early on. Be 100% honest. And the game was, if I asked you at half time or 60 minutes in and said, would you make any subs? I'm sure the majority, because I said it at half time with Robbie and he was like, I wouldn't make any changes yet. So I'm sure the majority would have said no.
I said it on the watch along. I think Tierney needs to come on, because about 15 minutes in, we didn't have any control in midfield.
Okay.
We didn't have what Zinchenko is there for, which is to overload the midfield, get control, but we had none of it in the second half. So I just thought to myself, it makes sense for Tierney to come on. They was attacking down our left, down their right hand side quite a bit. Salah was finding opportunities to get in the box quite a bit. So I was calling for Tierney, whether that was Tierney to come on and slot into a back three and give Zinchenko some more cover on that side to allow him to roam, or whether that's take Zinchenko off for Tierney and go more defence minded in that position. I was calling for him, but at the same time, none of what I potentially would have done at that time would guarantee a turnaround in the game. I just feel like Liverpool had both hands on it in the second half, and it would have been very difficult, if not impossible, to turn it around with substitutions, because it's Liverpool, it's Anfield. There was a goal down, for the majority of that second half. They was fighting tooth and nail. We didn't, do well on second balls. Every ball into the box from Liverpool, headed out, they'd get possession again. We found very little success in the final third, even though Martinelli, he had a chance. Well, no, not even that one. He had that one where he cut it across to Saka, but Robertson got back, fell on the ball, and Saka kind of ran past it. Gabriel had the header and then the misplaced pass. So we did have a few opportunities, but I would have probably wanted to see Tierney on sooner, Trossard probably on to try and get hold of the ball in the final third. He's got good feet, and maybe even a Jorginho to try and get control in the midfield. But at the same time, Jorginho could have been overrun in midfield.
But his intelligence and big and experience of big games, I don't know, I felt like I feel like I would have put Jorginho on a little bit earlier. But it's just, there's risks to it all, and there's no guarantee that these changes would have done everything or anything either. In hindsight, you can say, I would have wanted this, I would have wanted that. I did want something different. I was shocked with Kivior coming on. Yep, same.
But I guess, Arteta's got enough credit in the bank, more than enough credit in the bank for me to, trust him. I know Dave's being very sarcastic there with his comment. But I get it as well, because you do get a lot of people turning around and saying, he should have done this, he should have done that, this would have been better, he should have started him. The reality is, do we know more than Arteta? Do you know more than Arteta? No. And I think it's easier to, think, not that you know more than him. It's easier to think that, your changes would have benefited Arsenal more in that game. But Arteta's done so much for us in the past 2-3 years that we have to trust him with it. We have to trust him with the tactics, with the playing style, the system, when to change it up, the transfer windows. I mean, he's gained so much credit in the bank in every department that if that's who you want to bring on, that's who you want to bring on. I'm not going to look back and knock that. You know,
I hear that. No, bro, I'm with you.
Let's see what else we got here. Federer says Man City, MNC, Manchester City are football climate change. English football is different now because of them. 2-2 versus Liverpool away is normally good, but these ain't normal times. 2 points dropped. I get that. I understand what you're saying, because when you're being chased by Man City, and when you're competing with Manchester City, you got to be near enough perfect to get over the line. You know, Liverpool fans
they know
a testament for that over the years, finishing 1 point behind them twice in the last 5 years, losing out. Well, I won't say Liverpool were in the race for every single league title over the last four or 5 years, but they've been their main competitor. So yes, it does feel like 2 points dropped because of who we're facing, who we're coming up against, and the likelihood that the likelihood that Man City win the majority of their remaining games, if not all, because they have the potential to do that as well. Probably now would be the right time to bring this in, even though I was going to save it for later on in the show.
Bring it up.
But in 2017-18, which was their Centurion season, I believe, in their last 9 games, and I'm just looking at the last 9 games because that's where we're at now. Obviously, that's 8 for us, 9 for them.
Yep.
In the 2017-18 season, in the last 9 games, they won 7, lost 1, and drew 1.
Yeah.
Now, to be honest with you, if that's how their last 9 games go this season, I do think we win the league. If they draw 1 and lose 1 in the last 9, I do think that. But at the same time, we've got to do our job as well. And
who they lose to? Let them know they lost to, though.
Well, in 2017-18?
I've got it here, yeah. 2017-18. They lost to us.
Was that wasn't the Arteta year? What? No,
it wasn't the Arteta year, but
yeah.
But yeah, they lost to us at home. That's mad, isn't it?
You know what? I actually remember that I was at that game.
Is it? Yeah.
And afterwards, the City fans were vexed, and there was like clashes between the fans. And I remember we was chanting, "We fucked your title up," and in the end,
love that. And then, they wanted to become Centurions.
Well, was it that year?
Yeah, well, it says here. This was the year Arsenal.
Was it that year that? No, but I'm trying to think. Was that the year that the clashes were? I don't think so. Actually, no. The year I'm talking about was the year, because we also beat them towards the end of
2019 at 20.
No, towards the end of the Aguero season.
Yeah,
we also beat it. That was the Arteta goal. The 1-0.
Yes.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. So sorry, I'm talking about that one there. The 2017-18.
Sorry, I remember that as well.
I don't think I was at that game, but 2018-19, in their last 9, they won all 9.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave out 2019-20 because Liverpool were the champions and they got that wrapped up pretty earlier on in the season. In 2021, in the last 9, they won 6 and lost 3. And in 2021-22, which was last season, they won 7 and drew the 2 games. So in the last 4 out of 5 seasons, in the title winning seasons for them, they've managed to have a flawless end in one of them, and in the others, they've dropped points here and there. Now, we need them to drop points. Big time. At the same time, we need to do something at the Etihad. When I say something, even a draw would be a positive result, because a draw keeps the distance. At that time, it'll be 2 games in hand that City will have as well, because they've got an FA Cup tie. So, if we can maintain that distance, games in hand, okay, they're good to catch up on points, but the reality is points on the board are a lot better than games in hand.
100%.
So if we can come out of the Etihad, what are we now? 6 points ahead of them?
Yep, 6 points ahead.
If we can come at the Etihad
not losing,
still, well, they've got the FA Cup game. I expect us to win the next 2. I expect them to beat Leicester as well. So if we can come out of the Etihad still with a 9-point lead intact, then we've won the league, in my opinion.
If we come out of the Etihad with that,
with 9-point lead, regardless of their 2 games in hand, I would think that we've won the league. That's what I would think. Obviously, it's not cut and dry, and they'll still be on our coattails, and one slip up and they can be back into
100%.
it. But yeah, I don't want to think too far ahead because we've still got big games. West Ham away is a big game.
Yeah.
You know, Southampton Friday night, that's a big game. They're fighting for their lives. So.
I do expect these though. I've never been that fan to be like that. But I do expect us to get over the line with them. West Ham away, I expect it to be relatively comfortable. I know that sounds mad, but I feel like it should be. They're not doing great at all at the moment. Southampton will be tricky, but it's at home, and I think the home advantage will benefit us. It's going to need to, and then we obviously got the City game away now. I don't really know. That can go either way. And I want to ask you this because I asked a lot of fans this when I was at the ground at Anfield. What's easier? Is it Anfield away or Etihad away? What's easier? It's such a tough one.
I don't think what's easier is the right way to put it. What's the harder one is probably the best way to put it because neither are easy.
Okay, rephrase it. What's harder?
Listen, Anfield, Etihad's not Anfield. That is for sure.
Right, there we go.
Manchester City are not Liverpool.
Right.
Yeah,
that's a great way to break it down.
In my honest opinion, the more difficult game will be City at the Etihad.
Ah, damn.
Because we're also fighting with them for the Premier League title, so there's more incentive for them as well, being the home team, having won 2 of the fixtures this season already, one in the league at the Emirates, one in the FA Cup at the Etihad. That's going to be the more difficult game.
Factor, yeah,
100%, and they've got players that have been there, done that already.
Right.
So for me, the experience, who we're coming up against, both of us competing for the same thing,
overrides the Anfield factor.
Yeah,
for you.
yeah,
Fair?
it does.
Fair enough.
It does.
Okay.
More super chats in. Best in the world says he thinks we struggled in the second 45 because of personnel missing, i.e. Saliba. Look how we played without him. We can't push up as high due to Holding's lack of pace and positioning, means we inevitably sit back more. That's a good point. Constantine says, let's break the narrative that we'll just automatically lose at the Etihad. I don't like, quote, free hits. Why not go to the Etihad and do the job there? I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree with that as well.
No, I don't want to be hearing free hits anymore. Abdullah's couple from Abdullah here. First one says 4 points from Liverpool is definitely better than 3. We move on. And he also says if City win their last 9, that's 14 straight, gives them the title. But if they lose one game, their max points is 91. Arsenal can lose 1, draw 1, and still get 92 points. Look at the fixtures. We are definitely favourites.
I love that.
I don't think we're favourites, Abdullah, but you know, it is what it is.
In my heart, I feel like we are.
It's hard to pick favourites, if I'm honest with you. It's hard to say, you know, who the favourites are. But if I'm going to pick one, it would be City now. And I probably would have said City even before the Anfield game. Having come out of Anfield with a point, which in my opinion is a good point, considering the circumstances around it. It's probably further made City the favourites in my opinion because we played them at the Etihad.
Yeah.
And they're going to be the favourites for that fixture, and they're going to be the favourites for all remaining 9 games now. So on paper they are the favourites, but at the same time I feel like Arsenal will drop more points this season and Manchester City will drop some points this season. It just depends on who manages the running better. So
Abdullah said there though, he did say if they win their last 9, that's 14 straight. We last lost to City. We're on 8 games without a win. Obviously, we drew our last game, but it was a win streak before that. So if we go on and win our last 8, that's 16 without a loss. That give us the title. I hear what you're saying, 14 straight, but that's mad. If obviously there's still a lot of hard games to go, and I expect us to drop points at some point. It's going to be inevitable. But listen, we were unbeaten in the last 8 games. That's a good stat. That's a good record right now.
Yeah, I mean, up until this point, I keep saying Arsenal deserve the Premier League title this season, but that's not to say we're going to deserve it come 38 games. Whoever's top after 38 games deserves it. The Premier League table doesn't lie.
Yeah, I know.
That's the reality.
We're playing the best football. I know it's all. It doesn't matter really. But we're playing the best football, and I feel like we deserve a young team.
Yeah, but over the years, people might have favoured the way Liverpool play in comparison to City.
True.
Playing the best football is not comparable to winning the majority of the leagues.
Yeah.
You know, winning is what we're, you know, the players are here for. Winning is what the manager's here for. Winning is what the club should be about. Over the years, the club haven't been about that. Hence, you know, Kroenke and my issues with them. But yeah, I just feel like we deserve it to this point, but this point is nothing. 38 games is where it matters, and after 38 games, whoever finishes top deserves to win the Premier League. So that's just my view on it. All right, cool. That's the super chat's done. 29 minutes in, heading to 30. just over 100 likes, but we've got 1.3k in the building. Hit the like button, people. Let's try and get as close to 1k as possible. If you're watching this after and we haven't hit 1k, then help out, hit the like button. Let's move to the main topic. Balogun.
Right.
Reports coming out. I think the Athletic were the main provider of these reports. Apparently there's no plans for an extension. There's no plans or no interest from Balogun on going out on loan again. He kind of wants a definitive path now, whether that's being sold to a club where he's going to be the first choice striker, or whether that's staying at Arsenal to compete for being the first choice striker. A decision seems on the horizon, or you know, it seems like with the form that he's been on this season, he's in a lot more control of his destiny than he might have been just less than 12 months ago. 18 goals in 29 League One games.
Crazy.
One of the most informed strikers this season. Young, contract till 2025, so come this summer he'll have 2 years left. So a decision does have to be made. In my honest opinion, he can't demand first team football at Arsenal.
No way. Not this. Not the way we're moving.
You know, and none of these reports come with quotes. None of them come with any definitive source. It's just the Athletic have provided an article and reports based off of I don't know what they know. So I don't want to be too harsh on him and put words in his mouth, but he can't demand first team football at Arsenal. But what he can demand, in my opinion, is chances.
Yeah, right.
So
right. I'm with you.
Ideally, I said it before, if you ask me Balogun or Eddie heading into next season, it's going to be Balogun all day of the week, every single day.
Wow.
That's my opinion. Yeah. I said recently that I wouldn't mind going into next season with Jesus, Trossard and Balogun as our attacking options. That would be okay with me, even though I'd like a different profile of striker, bigger target man type, but you know, Arteta knows best, like I just said a few minutes ago. So if you're asking me Jesus, Trossard, and pick one of the two, it's going to be Balogun all day. But at the same time, he needs to want to fight for his place. He needs to want to take his chances. He can't feel unjust coming in and sitting on the bench when the reality is Jesus is the better player. Jesus has also helped transform us into what we are this season. So he'd have a fight on his hands. But when you're young, when you're, you know, coming through, when you're developing, a fight can be beneficial. A fight can get the best out of you. So ideally, I'd want him to have that mind state. I want to come back to Arsenal and I want to fight for my place. Hold off on the contract extension maybe because he might want to see how much chance he gets, how much game time he gets. I completely understand that, but an ultimatum this summer would probably be the wrong move for me because I like him as a player. I think he could bring something to Arsenal, but that type of mentality doesn't really, you know, sit well with me, considering how well Arsenal have done this season, how good Jesus is as a pure footballer. I feel like, you know, come back, bide your time. When you're picked, take your opportunities.
My headspace on this, my mindset on this is a very on the line one, because I echo everything you said about the. When I'm not gonna put words into his mouth. I haven't heard him come out and say, I'm demanding first team football Arsenal when I get back. Okay, so I'm not gonna say anything that he has said this, but my thoughts on it is this: Balogun. I've built a lot of trust in Arsenal, Arteta, Edu, and the board by bringing in players that are Premier League proven. We've seen the likes of Zinchenko coming aside, change Arsenal around. Jesus coming aside, change Arsenal around. Jorginho's come in, yes, not played as much, but also he's got Premier League experiences added to Arsenal Football Club. Trossard came in, we wanted Mikhailo Mudryk, ended up getting Trossard, Premier League proven, come in and hit the ground running. The likes of Ben White, Premier League proven. Aaron Ramsdale, yes, he got relegated with a few clubs, but Premier League proven. A lot of these players I built trust in because that's what the club gave me. That's not me to disrespect Balogun, because he's doing phenomenal numbers over in France. Love the player, my sort of striker. I'm a striker. I like the way he gets in behind. I like how powerful he is. I like how much he's improved on his game. But I need to see more from him in the Premier League. So, like I said, I don't know if he's demanded first team football. It's from the reports. It's saying he wants to be playing first team football wherever he goes next. He doesn't want a third loan, from what I'm reading today. But you have to come in and bide your time, in my personal opinion, because the Premier League's completely different. Arteta has a completely different style of play. There's a setup there that you're going to have to get used to, and you can't just expect to come in and I'm assuming we've got Champions League football next season, come in and want to be that first choice striker at Arsenal Football Club. And this is an interesting one because William Saliba kind of had this same scenario where he was getting sent on multiple loans, and when he came back, I don't know if he demanded first team football, but I'm assuming when he came back, he wanted to play first team football. Obviously, he proved himself and he got that spot. But the competition was a lot less for that position than what it is for the striker position. There is Eddie Nketiah, there is a Trossard that can play in there, and there is a Gabriel Jesus. I'm not going to go and shun Eddie Nketiah and say, look, I want Balogun over him. I always wanted all of them to be in the side. I know that can be controversial and that may not always be the best case, but I don't see throwing one of them out. I say you find a way to include them in all the fixtures we have. Balogun needs experience. I think he needs game time in the Premier League for me to have a complete decision on whether it's right for him to be a viable choice at Arsenal. But I do like him. I really do like him. And I've got many questions that we're going to throw into the comment section and to you, Turkish, as well, that I've written down. But that's my thoughts on it. I don't expect him to demand first team football, but I understand his mentality from a young player doing so well in playing first team football regularly, and the likes of, I don't know, was it Inter Milan, AC Milan, Monaco, RB Leipzig sniffing around him. I get that you're young, your worth in your head goes through the roof, but you have to sometimes, and it's difficult to do as a young player, but take yourself out of it and think, Arsenal Football Club are top of the Premier League right now. They weren't like this when I was around. When I was around there, they're top of the Premier League. I can't just demand this. It's the best league in the world. So yeah, that's just. Yeah,
and he has to look at the club and what we've been doing over the years and how much faith Arteta's put in young players.
Right.
He'll get his chances. You know,
take him.
Jared here says if we sell, we need a king's ransom, no more bargains, and that's where I want to bring in that Arsenal are in a very good position as well. As much as Balogun's in a good position, good form this season, upped his value. On one hand, I'd like to keep Balogun. I'm intrigued on how he develops, and I think there's a quality player in there. On the other hand, if enough is enough for him, then he's got value.
Let's do it then. Let's do it. That's my question. Listen, I said I had questions prepped. Right. So online and in the tabloids, what I've been reading today, that they're valuing him at 26.5 million upwards. That's what I've read today. I want to ask you, it's hard to gauge how much a player is worth. How much do you think he's worth first is the first question. Second question is, how much would you be comfortable in letting him go for? Because if he's going for 70, 50, I know this is big numbers, but would you be comfortable to say, do you know what, fair? Because you like Balogun, I like Balogun, but if I'm seeing 50 to 70 mils,
I doubt we're gonna get that.
I know, but that's just out unrealistic price. If that comes in, I'll be taking it. But it's 26.5 and upwards is what I saw online. Where are you at? And people in the comments, if a 27 million pounds came in, is that enough to let a young talent go?
Well, before I was thinking about what I'd take from him. I said to myself 30 mil. I think that's fair, but I think a buyback clause needs to be in there, and maybe a sell-on clause too, where we get a percentage of the next sale potentially, just to secure ourselves, for a future move back in for him, or a future sale where we can kind of.
Hey, Cronkies, bring Turkish onto the board, man. I forgot about the buybacks and that. Bring him on the board. He's thinking correctly, man. I hear that, and I think that's a good value.
30 mil is nice.
I think that's a good value with a buyback clause as well.
With Champions League football, the money we're going to get from that, with declared wage bill, with the more sensible wage bill we have in place now, where we haven't really got players being paid out of this world money. I think we're in a much better position financially this summer than we have ever been. Maybe in the Emirates,
we got
maybe
assets.
Since moving into the Emirates
100%.
initially, even though at that time paying off the stadium resulted in us having to sell our best players and not being able to offer big contracts. Cool. So Champions League money, and then I look at potential player sales and who's got value, and Balogun's quite high up there in terms of a player that we might be looking to sell, might be open to a move, and his value, I think him, Kieran Tierney would probably be another one. Aside from them two, it's going to be hard for us to get anything for Ainsley. It's going to be hard to get anything for Nicolas Pepe. It'll be hard to. I think Pablo Murray's move is pretty much set anyway. I think Cedric's contract's up at the end of the season, if I'm not mistaken. If it's not, it'd be hard to get anything for him anyway.
Kieran Tierney, just quickly, so Balogun around 30 million. That's a painful one. I don't want to talk about it too much, but fee-wise, how much? I see value in Kieran Tierney staying at Arsenal, but is there a fee in your mind that you think, okay, that's acceptable? Is it a 30 million still? Is that around that, or is he worth way more?
I think more, not way more. I'd say
40.
I'd say 35, 40, rise into 50. Especially if it's Newcastle, I think you can lean towards more 40 to 50. But I think it'd have to rise based off of how many appearances he makes, and if it is Newcastle, maybe adding in,
that would hurt me, man.
You know, if you get Champions League football again, we get an extra 5 mil or some shit like that. You know, the little bits and bobs you can make off the back of some consistency. So I think 35 to 40 for Tierney, rise into 50. You know, based off of appearances and competitions and success and so on. That's probably fair to me.
I think that's fair.
At the same time, I also see fans wanting 50 minimum for Kieran Tierney.
I get that.
I don't know. Essentially, I want to keep Tierney. I think even if we was offered 50 mil, I'd still want to keep him, if I'm honest with you.
Really?
I'd still want to keep him.
If he was leaving the Premier League for 50 million, does that change it? Does that change your
If he's what?
Leaving the Premier League for 50 million to another club, not inside the Premier League. Because it hurts me here in Newcastle, because I know that's what he's been linked with, but I'd hate to see him in that shirt. But if he leaves the Premier League for 50, does that change your feeling?
It doesn't change whether it's this league or another league, if I'm honest. I want to keep Tierney because I'm happy with that position. Zinchenko and Tierney as backup. I'm happy with that. It's different types of players. They bring different things, and I'm equally happy with both starting a game for Arsenal. So ideally, I go into next season seeing Zinchenko and Tierney as our options on the left. If push comes to shove, like it might do with Balogun, like it might do with Tierney, then we've got players with value there, which we haven't had that in a long time.
Sure.
We've been struggling to sell players. So on Balogun, I think remain grounded. You've had a great season. I think you can get opportunities at Arsenal, especially next season. We're going to need our first team for League, Champions League, so the FA Cup and League Cup games. I could see a Balogun, if he stays at Arsenal, starting those ones.
Yeah.
But again, I'm going to always go back to Arteta knows best. So whatever Arteta decides to do with Balogun and Tierney and so on, so be it. I trust him to do the right thing in that moment.
I think it's a mindset to have, trust Arteta, because it was Arteta that wanted to keep Eddie Nketiah. He wanted him to stay. He pushed for him to sign on a further contract. So you're right, trust Arteta, but also remember that Eddie saw it in All or Nothing documentary when Congo was moaning about wanting to play. He said, yo, wait your turn, like work hard and wait your turn. And I think that's the kind of same message you got to give to Balogun. I know he's doing incredible numbers over in France, I get it, but I think that's what you got to do. And I'll be interested to know if Balogun would be happy with Eddie Nketiah minutes. If he wanted to stay, would he be happy with that? The same amount of game time Eddie got this season? Because I don't believe Eddie's happy with what he got this season, but he has to understand. I think he understands. I think he's just going to want more game time. But they have to understand because where Arsenal are. So if he can, I'm sure Balogun should have to.
No, because Eddie might want more game time, but did he really seize the opportunity when given it? Initially, it seemed
he did all right. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, but then by the end of it, Trossard came in for him. So at the same time, wanting is good. Every player should want to play games.
Agreed.
Every player should want to be on that pitch. That's a given. But also, when you're given those, you also need to stand up to it, and you also need to take those chances. So, do I think Balogun will be happy with the game time Eddie's got this season? I think so, because if you really look at it from end of December, where the Premier League came back after the World Cup,
Eddie was the main guy,
all through till mid-February, where Trossard came in for Eddie. If you had a striker there like a Balogun that kept up the consistency and scoring goals and leading the line, then from end of December all the way through to the end of March, which is 3 whole months, it was game time.
It's true.
But it is what it is. I guess every player, whether it be Eddie, whether it be Balogun, you can want what you want, but decisions have to be made off the back of
this is football.
Jesus is our striker.
This is football.
Jesus is the one that's going to start if he's fit week in, week out. That goes without saying. Do you want to compete with Jesus for that position? Do you think you have enough to knock him off that position and get more game time for yourself? If you do believe, which you should believe, then stay and fight. If not, then take the high road and seek another club that's going to give you that. But at the end of the day, whether it be Balogun, whether it be Eddie, I don't think they're getting better clubs than Arsenal Football Club. So, make do with what you're given and make the most of your chances. That's how I really see it.
Fair.
Apparently AC Milan are interested. I've read Inter Milan, Marseille, Monaco, RB Leipzig. these sorts of teams are interested. So
Still big clubs though.
Still, of course, AC Milan are massive, Inter Milan are massive,
Yeah, it's big
and Marseille, Monaco, RB. These are clubs that have competed in Champions League, been there, present, and also competed for league titles. Not so much AC Milan, but Inter Milan have won one recent. Have AC Milan won a league title recently?
I think they might have, you know, if I'm correct. I'm sure.
Last season, did they win it?
Because they were up there, yeah. They're definitely up there. Yeah, because Giroud and that, yeah, I'm sure that, yeah.
So yeah, they got he's got teams there that have been, they have. Okay, yeah, it was
okay,
last
cool.
season.
I thought so, yeah.
They have, Balogun has teams that are competing for honours after him for sure, but Arsenal's a different beast in my opinion, both, you know, commercially and where we're at right now at this moment in time, and where it looks like we're heading. This seems to be the first season of a new era for Arsenal, where the standards have risen, the bar's been raised, bare minimum is challenged now every season. I don't, you know, want to go backwards and say Champions League football is enough. Forget that narrative. It's challenging for the league, and Champions League football will come with that anyway.
Can they all fit next season? Can they all feature? I'm talking Eddie, Jesus, and Balogun. No,
because there's Trossard as well.
I know, but Trossard, Martinelli cover. I know Emile Smith-Rowe is in there as well, but you move his position and cover for Xhaka. I don't know. I put Saka. He needs competition. I don't know. I feel like I just want everyone to stay. I'll be honest. You know my thing. I like happy camp.
You're pally too much.
I am. No, he's right.
No, but a lot of fans are like that.
No, that's how I am.
They want to keep everyone. They like everyone. They just, you know,
because they are similar, Eddie and Balogun. There might be, like you said, you know, you pick Balogun over Eddie every time. I think there's definitely a lot of similarities to it, and I think Arteta, when you have Jesus, he's completely different to Balogun and Eddie. I think they offer different things. If you get a punisher in front of goal in either of them, you've got a winner. And when it comes to versatility of a striker, you get one that comes in deep, brings another play, great technical ability, and then one that's just in the box or can strike a ball properly and get goals. You've got the perfect balance there. My thing is I want to see Balogun more in the Premier League before I make my decision, but then I don't know if there's time for that. So yeah.
So I did put another poll in the chat. Question on Balogun: keep, sell, or loan? Keep has 65% of the votes. Sell has 26% of the votes, and loan has 9%. So that's heavily towards keeping him, and obviously selling him is there in second place. Loan being the least liked option. And some super chats. Federer says Balogun currently number 8 top scorer in Europe. In Europe,
Balogun top scorer.
Number 7, Laka, which is a good point. Lacazette's on 18 goals in League One as well. So
yeah, he's on good. That's what I'm saying. You never know League One. And to be fair, and this is truth as well, it was Lacazette that gave Balogun the advice to say go and get game time, go and play in France. It was him that gave him the advice. I remember Balogun saying that, and it seemed like great advice. It's worked out perfectly. But again, it's the French league. It is a difficult league. I can't lie, but the Premier League is completely different.
And Jared says 30 to 50 million at least based on potential. 27 is laughable, which was the value of Balogun. Trey says Eddie and Balogun are both the same players, let's be honest. Both need 90 minutes to affect the game. They don't have the X factor, skills or pace. Sell both and we go for Mbappe. That's big club mentality and we need that. I get it though.
I hear it as well.
I get it.
I'm laughing because I hear it, but
you're laughing because you're not used to it.
Yeah, but no.
But the more we do this, the more we challenge. Because back in the day when Arsenal were challenging, when we had, you know, world class players seeping through the side.
Yeah, players wanted to come to Arsenal.
I wanted us to go for the top players.
Yeah, no, and they wanted to come. I get that.
So now, if we are headed back into that, if this is the first title challenging or title winning season of many to come. Then that is also that narrative also needs to change off the pitch, where Arsenal don't go for the top players, because I think that once you're up there to remain up there, both commercially as well, this will help the Kroenkes, the pockets of the rich that you know own Arsenal and are invested into Arsenal through shirt sales and so on, but both on the pitch too, because whether it's an Mbappe, whether it's a Bellingham, whether it's
Bellingham's a good shout.
You know, there's quality young players. There's quality players out there that will be on the move in the next few years, where Arsenal have never, you know, Arsenal won't be linked to. And I get that, because the last 10-20 years, you know, why should we be linked to them?
Turkish, I hear you. Don't get it twisted though. Trust me, man remembers the days of players wanting to play for Arsenal, wanting to play either under Wenger, wanting to play under Arsenal, how big of a club it was. I fully get that. I expected big top targets. The reason why my mentality I think has changed, and it shouldn't, because we obviously want to keep the standards high, is the fact that Mikel Arteta proved me wrong. He got players that I didn't believe were top players. Ramsdale, Ben White, I didn't see them as top players, but he made them into what they are today. Tomiyasu's, I know he's not featuring as much anymore, but all these players that he brought in, I was like, what? My standards dropped because of that. But then they changed as well because he's now turned them into a title contending team of players. Yeah. So that's why those wants and demands for me quite got a lot more quieter. But don't get me wrong, I want Bellingham. I think Bellingham would be a perfect fit for Arsenal. Mbappe's a bit mad, so apologies. That's just a bit way too left. But Bellingham, I think, is someone we should be targeting. We should be going for the best. They have to fit Arteta's profile. He's young. He'd fit into this Arsenal side. I know Liverpool fans will don't want to hear that, but I think he's the perfect fit for us. I know James has mentioned that before. I remember Robbie when we did the European draft. He wanted him. But there's many other young players that we should be looking at, Musiala and things like that. But
I just want to see us test the waters a bit, Test the waters.
Just test what for one big signing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, not one big. I mean, just test the waters consistently moving forward. Football. I guess you don't need to buy big to win big. I think teams have shown that as well. But at the same time, one example of that might be Liverpool. But they spent 75 on Alisson, or was it 75 on Van Dijk and 70 on Alisson? So that was big numbers, especially at that time for those players. But they managed to build a unit. 30, 35.
Pepe did that
Salah,
though. Pepe did that. Not 72 million. That's them showing big. Yeah, it obviously didn't work out.
The more teams fuck up transfers, like 70 million on Pepe, or like 100. Well, I think it's 90 million on Anthony from United, or 90 million on Sancho to United, or look, I don't think they fucked up in terms of when you look at Grealish now and you see him producing. You're not going to mention his price tag much, because if a player is producing, you don't really look back at his price tag unless you've got him for so cheap that you're like, we got this player for this money. Like Martinelli, for example, 6 million got us this.
Crazy.
But 100 million on Grealish, these figures, they change the landscape in the market. Yeah. They change it completely, because then another team can be like, well, this club just spent 100 million on Mudryk. Yeah, look how he's fared. This guy that you want to buy is better than him, and he will fare better than him. So we want 120.
Who they had that argument? Was it Mudryk that had that argument with Anthony?
Lukaku 100 mil, huh?
Yeah, he had that argument with Anthony. I swear at the time he said like,
I think
they paid this for that. And he was like, so if they're gonna pay that, then we want this. Which is, you're right. It f's the market, and then Chelsea just come in and just
80 million Maguire. There's so many examples out there. Arsenal have the one example, which is 72 on Pepe. Aside from that, we have not really overspent in that way. United have many examples. Chelsea have many examples.
Agreed.
City, aside from Grealish, they've got a pretty good track record in the transfer market.
He's hitting right now, though. To be fair to Grealish,
he stepped up. He's in his best form for City. And listen, if City do pip us to it, then Grealish is going to be a big part of that. So none of the City fans are going to care that he cost 100 mil.
Of course.
He's changing that narrative a bit. But we move. Terra Official says, on his goals alone, we've got to keep Balogun and let Eddie go. That was the last super chat on Balogun. I do want to move it on because we're close to the 6 p.m. mark. We're 50 minutes into the show. Hit the like button, people. There's 1.6k. I've got a couple more notes to get through.
Run through.
Not big topics per se, but if you're someone who has a ticket for that Chelsea game on what was supposed to be the 29th of April, that has now changed to Tuesday the 2nd of May. So originally it was scheduled for Saturday 29th of April, a 5:30 p.m. kickoff. That's now been changed, people, to Tuesday the 2nd of May, 8 p.m. And on the Arsenal website, it says the reason being this change has been made as a result of the Metropolitan Police revising its position on policing the match. Because initially when I heard it, I thought, what are Sky doing?
That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought.
Because it's usually always them doing some sort of shit, basically. But it's been moved to Tuesday. Is there much conversation around it? No, because Chelsea were also the third game of a week we were all looking at as the week for our title running, which was Newcastle. What was it? Man City, Chelsea,
Man City, then Chelsea at home, yep, and then it's
Newcastle after,
I believe,
yeah.
Away.
So Man City would have been on the Wednesday. Chelsea, well, Man City is on the Wednesday. Chelsea would have been on the Saturday. Now that's moved to Tuesday. So it gives us a bit more breathing space after that City game. So, which is a massive game for us.
Yeah,
it does move it closer to the Newcastle one, but the Newcastle one I believe is on Sunday.
Sunday,
so
yeah, away, yep.
Wednesday and Tuesday to Sunday, that's more than enough gap. So, you know, maybe it works in our favour. Maybe it doesn't.
You never know until we get there.
But it's a note to be made anyway, because I know a lot of international fans as well who are asking me to help with tickets, and I can't help with tickets. People, I haven't got a plug.
Same. Let me get out there right now. My name's not Cecil Box Office. Cecil G. Apologies, people. I can't get tickets.
It's more difficult now than I've ever seen in terms of getting tickets. Some of the prices I'm being quoted, I wouldn't even want to tell someone else how much people are asking for.
And please be sorry to cut you. Please be careful, people, of just people selling fake tickets. Please double, triple check and just be aware of that, because people are getting scammed out a lot of money, especially people I speak to abroad. Please be careful with who you're buying them from. Just want to get that in there now.
And let's wrap it up with Martinelli, who I've mentioned in the past few days leading up to the Liverpool game as well. I won't say underrated, but undervalued at times. I feel like, even from some Arsenal fans too. A lot of people wanted Trossard to start against Liverpool. When asked in place of who, Martinelli was the one. When I look at Martinelli's form and not just form, but his season overall, he's our top goal scorer form wise. He was 6 and 7 going into that game. I just thought to myself, why would it be Martinelli the one to be dropped or rotated for Trossard? It just didn't make sense to me. And lo and behold, he starts the game, he gets a goal, he gets an assist. In the first half, in my opinion, Martinelli was our best player, our most threatening outlet,
most potent
in a game that Saka was quiet in by his standards. I think Martinelli proved why he needs to be starting week in, week out. And looking at his goals so far, 14 goals in the league, and he is the top scoring Brazilian in the top 5 European leagues. Martinelli's got 14 goals, Neymar's got 13 goals, Vinicius has got 9, Firmino 9, and Jesus 8. So at this moment, we've got the highest scoring Brazilian in the side, and at age 21, 14 goals and 4 assists, 18 goal involvements. Mad. He can also be, would I be mistaken in saying, the first Brazilian to hit the 20 goal mark if he gets another 6 in the last 8?
You have that stat.
I can't remember a Brazilian player finishing on 20 goals in any season in the Premier League. In any season. No, he would be. He would be. Maybe fact check that one for me, people. Maybe I've forgotten someone, but off the top of my head, no Brazilian player has reached 20 goals. Robinho didn't reach 20 goals. Says Ratko suggested, but I don't think he reached 20 goals. I'm pretty sure he didn't reach 20 goals.
Yeah, because Jesus definitely didn't.
I'm just talking about Premier League here. Yeah. But Martinelli, I think undervalued at times.
Me, I'm a huge fan of Martinelli. I can speak about him for days. And do you know what? He does all of that. And do you know what he doesn't do? He doesn't do a pigeon dance as well. He's the best Brazilian, man. I love him. Very young player. I'm a big fan of Gabriel Martinelli. I think he knows that as well. But he's just been incredible. I think I feel for him when players are being linked, like Mykhailo Mudryk, for crazy money. For a young player in that position, it does a lot for you mentally. I know it does. For a fact. But he overcame that and just proved himself. These are hurdles. We always talk about Arsenal go over hurdles, but the players internally also have to deal with position, pressure, and performing at a certain level. And he's just risen to that challenge. Most goals at Arsenal currently is just that in itself is an amazing stat. Top goal scorer. I think we look at the international as well. Him playing for Brazil as well. Every time he played, and he only got only a few minutes. He only got an opportunity once or twice in the World Cup. He shined. The commentators were loving him. He got on the ball. He done so well. He was beating his man. He was quality, and I know he got a lot of praise for his international appearances as well. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because when I speak about Bukayo Saka, I say how amazing he is for Arsenal, but I always speak about him when he plays for England as well. He's one of the standout players, and I think when Martinelli played in the World Cup, he really shone in that team. He's an incredible young player, and people got frustrated with him holding on to the ball too long and whatnot, and sometimes he dribbles with his head down, all of that. But you know what? There's still space for him to grow, but what he's doing for this Arsenal side is incredible. And he's so humble with it. Such a genuine player, doesn't care about money or anything, just wants to play for Arsenal Football Club to the best of his ability. And that's a player I adore, Gabriel Martinelli. And you're right, he goes under the radar. I think many people don't give him the flowers he deserves. So here they are.
And on the 20 goal Brazilian question, Ben says correct. Firmino has the record with 15.
I thought it was 18.
So a couple more goals for for Martinelli, and he would, become the highest scoring Brazilian in a single season at the age of 21. It's mad. I think I said it in my fan cam. I said on the watch along too. We've got one star boy in Saka, but we've got another star boy in Martinelli. Yeah. It's just that one's come from Hayland, there's English, we're in England, so one's going to get more recognition than the other. I get that completely, and Saka deserves his flowers, but Martinelli deserves his flowers too, in my opinion. So long may they both be on our wings, because they're growing well, they're developing so well. They're key components for Arteta's system already. Massively. And the thing about Martinelli is, he signed the contract. He was eager to do that as well. It was an easy decision for him. And not only that, I remember about maybe a year and a half ago now, maybe 12 to 18 months ago, he said something like, if this group sticks together, we can achieve big things. At the time, I was very much like, can we? But now looking at what this team has done this season, he was right. Yeah, justified in saying what he said. So big up Martinelli, man. I think more flowers are needed for Martinelli for sure. And quickly, just some more information just quick before we come to the end as well. Eddie Nketiah trained today in the open training session, so it's looking like he'll be available come Sunday against West Ham. He was pictured today training with the team, with the first team, and obviously there was a press conference where Arteta said someone trained today, and they asked him who, and he said, I'm not going to tell you. I think it's proven it'll be. I thought it was Eddie because he had them pictures posted in the gym a couple of days before that. So I thought to myself, it must be him he's talking about. Yeah. And if it was Saliba, I think he probably would have said it is Saliba. Yeah, 100%. And throw Liverpool off a bit. It has been a while since we've seen Eddie. It was back in March when he played against Everton. Is when he got the injury, the ankle injury, and we won the 4-0. So it's been a while. But we're gonna end very soon. But it's a conversation for you guys to have once this show ends. What do you do with Eddie Nketiah? Does he go straight back in? Is he going to be not straight back in the start 11, but featured ahead of certain other players like Trossard? If he doesn't start, it'd be a question for you guys to take with you. But Eddie Nketiah seems to be back now in full recovery, and like you said, we saw the photo of him in the gym. Looks like he's gone to another level in his physicality size again. I don't know what the brother's eating, but he looks stronger again. That's just it's good news. Ben also added, if Martinelli can score 6 more goals in the last 8, he'll become the youngest ever Arsenal player to hit the 20 goal mark in Premier League history. Bloody hell. Is that correct? I have no idea. Anelka, how old was he in the 97-98 season? How many goals did he get? Didn't he break? Did Walcott ever hit? Did he ever hit? He wouldn't have hit. Sorry, people, I'm doing research as we're live, but why not? Why not? Sorry, I'm doing this as well. I don't think he ever hit, to be fair. But yeah, Nad. Checking out because I'll check this. Oh no, I did a mad random shot there, but let me just check. No, he never. Theo never even got more than 15 goals. Who are you looking at? I was looking at Theo. You're moving mad looking at Walcott. I was dreaming. You can tell we're from different eras. One searching Anelka, the other searching Walcott. My guy. Definitely not. I hope we win the Premier League for the young fans like you. No, but I just thought he come through so young. He might have done a madness, but definitely did not. Anelka in that season. You know what? The chat's here as well. I'm sure they'll be. Yeah, they'll know. Yeah, he was young that season. Who else was? But did he hit 20? That's the question. That's the question. Off the top of my head, I thought he did, but no. I don't even know what I'm looking at here. Listen, I'm looking at some mad names. I'm looking at some mad names here. That is what it is. I guess that's homework for people. You can take that home and work it out. People. Well, that's it. Yeah, that's it. I'm actually going to look into that as well. Aside from news and updates, I think we've gone through them all. Balogun, some question marks about his future. We've talked about the Liverpool result and how we're feeling 48 hours on. We talked about the Chelsea fixture change from Saturday the 29th to Tuesday the 2nd of May. Martinelli undervalued in terms of Brazilians in the top 5 European leagues. He is the top goal scorer. And Eddie Nketiah back in training. Aside from that, people, we're going to wrap it up. Love to everyone who's sent in super chats. Love to everyone who's engaged with us in the comment section. Love to everyone that has hit the like button. We've just passed 300 likes. We've still got 1.4k in the building. So as we wrap up, people, hit the like button. Cecil, love for joining me as always.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back here tomorrow. I believe Robbie will be running the live at 5, and he'll be here with Laurie. So make sure you tune in then. And a lot more content to come out. Forever Arsenal came out this morning, so make sure you catch that. Yesterday, the Bias Show and Tactical Insight. Moving forward this week as well, West Ham do play in the Conference League, so the content around West Ham will probably be coming out Friday, Saturday. So make sure you're subscribed, put the notification bell on, people, and love for the love. We're out. Peace.